In all the exuberance associated with negotiating new business relationships between China and the West, too little attention has been paid to managing conflict in those relationships, and conflict is inevitable. As the story I'm about to tell you illustrates, confronting conflict, by which I mean how do you tell a person there's a problem that needs to be fixed, is handled very differently in the West than it is in East Asia. Jeff, one of my executive education students, told the story of the rattling bicycles. He had a contract with a German buyer for bicycles that he was having manufactured in China. Shortly before the bikes were to be shipped to Germany, Jeff went to the plant to check on them. When he got there, he and the plant manager took a couple of the bikes off the line, rode them around in the countryside, and Jeff's bike rattled. He thought the plant manager's bike rattled too. So when they got back to the plant, Jeff handed over his bike, and then he turned to the plant manager and commented, "I think my bike rattled." And then he went back to Hong Kong. When Jeff ended his story, there was a stunned silence in the room, and then a flurry of questions. "You just went back to Hong Kong? You didn't check all the bikes? You didn't tell the plant manager that the Germans wouldn't accept rattling bikes?" "No," said Jeff. Finally, someone asked, "Well, why not?" And Jeff explained that he knew the plant manager knew why he had come. He was afraid that if he confronted the plant manager directly, the plant manager would lose face. He would feel disrespected and he would feel embarrassed. And in revenge, he might ship the rattling bikes. But Jeff thought if he was respectful, the plant manager would get the job done, fix the bikes, and ship them on time to Germany. Jeff understood the difference between direct and indirect confrontation of conflict. In the West, when we have a conflict, we tend to identify the problem, assign blame, and assign responsibility for the fix, and even tell what we think needs to be done. In East Asia, it's done much more indirectly. There's a signal that there's a problem and an assumption that the responsible party will take responsibility and fix the problem. So if you're a Western manager working in East Asia, my advice to you is to be aware of subtle signals about problems and conflict. You might hear, for example, the term, "that would be difficult," or when you ask a question, you might get a story back in response, or you might hear a metaphor. It's okay to probe. What was the protagonist in the story thinking about, would you say? Or how's this metaphor interpreted in China? But what you don't want to do is point fingers, because in East Asia, people take roles and responsibilities very, very seriously. If for your peace of mind, you really have to make clear there's a problem that needs to be fixed, state your problem in tentative terms. Don't be definitive. Engage your counterpart in defining the problem and in defining the solution. Now, if you are an East Asian manager working in the West, I advise you be prepared for confrontation. Try not to take it personally. Try not to be defensive. Try not to withdraw. Instead, engage the other party in understanding what the problem is. Don't take the problem to the boss. In East Asia, it's very common to involve the boss very early in the conflict. But in the West, managers are supposed to resolve conflict themselves. So instead, engage your counterpart, work together collaboratively to identify the problem and fix the problem. Just a little bit of cultural sensitivity to direct and indirect confrontation of conflict can really pay off. It did for Jeff. Those German buyers not only accepted the bikes, but they reordered.